Hello, let's start the last part of 2.4. It's really short, it's a short lecture. Here I'll explain to you slope as a rate of change. Slope as a rate of change. The meaning of slope, as we discussed, m equals delta y over delta x, or in other meaning, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, correct? Delta y, I told you in some books, means change in y. When you are writing y2 minus y1, this is change in y. Delta x means x2 minus x1, change in x. Now, slope is actually a ratio of change. Slope, let me write here for you. Look, slope is a ratio of change in y to the corresponding change in x. It means any change that you see in y, it's based on the change in x. Remember, when I am writing 2x, y equals 2x plus 1, here I told you y is a dependent value or a dependent variable. X is an independent variable, correct? Now, y is changing in respect to x. How fast, for example, is x changing? How fast is y changing in respect to x, correct? This relation, we call it the rate of change, correct? In linear functions or in linear equations, we can say that the rate of change is actually how many units x is changing, how many units y is changing. It's so difficult to talk in general. If we do this example, only one example, easily you understand what does it mean, the rate of change. For example, in your book, a graph is given to you like this. Of course, this is x, this is y. Here you have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21. 18, definitely the last point will be 20. Yeah. On the x, you have 2000, which is this point. Then you have 2001, 2002 years. Then you have 2004. Then you have 2006. 2008, 2010, and so on. Okay? The last one is, I think, let's make it bigger here. 2010 or 12, not 10. We have 10. 2012. A graph is given to you from 15, there is a line, to 2012, which is 20. If I mark here as a 21, a line segment is drawn like this for you. correct? This graph is actually showing how many women in United States living alone, correct? This graph shows from 2000 to 2012, how many women are living alone in United States. And there is also a blue one, which shows how many men are living alone in the United States during these years. Now, the question is, they're asking you, the line graph for the number of women and men living alone are shown again in this diagram that I draw for you. Find the slope of the line segment for the women. Describe what this slope represents. Very easy. For some of you, maybe it looks really, really difficult what they are asking. It's a word problem. They're asking you actually find the slope of this line. You see, you have 2 points of the line. Can you easily find the slope of this line? What is the slope of this line? Of course, the slope of this line, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, correct? Or you can say m equals y2. This is actually your y2, x2, y2. x2 is 12, y2 is 21, correct? Then you can say 21 minus this point is x1, y1, which is your x1 is 15 over y1 is 15 over x2. Your x2 is 2012 minus x1 is 2000. If we simplify this, m equals 21 minus 15 gives you 6 over 2012 minus 2000 only gives you 12. And if you simplify by 6, that gives you 1/2. Correct? What this 1/2 actually explains to you, 1/2 here explains the rate of change, correct? If my y is in million, x is the year, correct? It shows the rate of change that 1/2 means 0.5, correct? It means the rate of change is 0.5 million women per year, correct? In each year, 0.55 million women are living alone in United States, correct? The only important part that here you focus is how you interpret the rate of change, the slope as a rate of change, correct? Now, it was in linear. What if I have a function like this, for example? Let me draw a graph here for you. For example, I have a graph like this. Of course, this graph represents a function, correct? Let's name this graph f of x. If I pick up 2 points on this graph, here and here, and draw a line, correct? If I name the x coordinates of this point, x1, the coordinates of this point will be y1, or you can use the other name, right? Because you learn now functions. y1 or f of x1 is the same. If the coordinates of this point is x2, then the coordinates on y will be f of what? X2. It means this point, the coordinates will be x2 comma f of x2. Means y2, right? It's the same thing, other notation. The coordinates of this point will be x1 and f of x1. Now, if I want to write the slope formula, then it becomes m equals f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Correct? We call this formula the average rate of change. The average rate of change of a function, or in simple of f, which f represents a function. Every time that you want to find the average rate of a function, use this formula. And I'll show you an example how to use it. Maybe for some of you, it will be a question how to find what is f of x2 still, what is f of x1, right? Let's do an example and explain it in example how you can find the average rate of a function. Example 1. For example, a function is given to you, f of x equals x squared, correct? They are asking you, find the average rate of change. Find the average rate of change. But they have to give you a point. If they don't give you a point, then it's difficult to find. Find the average rate of change. F x1 is 0 and x2 is equal 1. Focus. My formula m equals f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. I know the value of x2 is given to me. The value of x1 is given to me. The problem is, what is f of x2, how to find f of x2, and how to find f of x1. Look, easy. I'll draw a line here and I'll solve it on the other side. I'll show it on the other side for you. The function is given as a f of x equals x squared. If I want to find the f of x1, how much is x1? x1 is 0. If I find f of 0, is this difficult or easy? Can you find in this function how much is f of 0? We discussed this before, right? We discussed and we said, we called it on that time evaluating a function, correct? Then f of 0 equals 0 squared, which gives you what? 0. Again, your function is f of x equal x squared. This time we are looking for the f of 1. F of 1 means 1 squared means what? 1. Then plug in the numbers here. I can say m equals f of x2. F of x2 is actually 1, correct? Minus f of x1, 0. We already calculated those values. Over x2, which is 1, minus x1, 0, which gives you what? 1 over 1, or gives you what? 1. One more. Same problem. F of x equals x squared. This time, x1 is 1, x2 is 2. x1 equal 1, x2 equal to. Formula m equals f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1, correct? Now I have to find f of x2 and f of x1. F of x2 equals what is, how much is x2? x2 is 2, right? It means f of 2. F of 2 means 2 is squared, which gives you what? 4. F of x1 means f of 1 means 1 is squared. That means what? 1. Then m equals 4 minus 1 over 2 minus 1, which gives you 3 over 1, which means what? 3. Right? This is the average rate of a function, in which point if x1 is 1 and x2 is 2. This was all about section 2.4. 2.5, of course, we discuss transformation. I do a separate lecture on that. I will stop lecture here and see you all in section 2.5.